Hello everyone and welcome to my corner of the world. Today we're going to work on a bit of shabby chic or vintaging, if that's such a word. It's not a style that I do very often, but when I do I kind of fall in love with it, and I just wanted to share this card with you today. So I've chosen to use Night of Navy, Sahara Sand and vanilla. And we've got some lovely twine going on here, some lace, some vellum, lots of sponging and sort of roughening the edges of the card. So let's make a start. So I already did some of my stamping because I wanted to, make a start on the card, and I decided I would use two stamp sets, and both of these are going to be retiring when the new catalogue comes out at the end of the month, but they are still available at this time. So Very Versailles is one of them, and then Artisan Textures is the other. Try and get the light off of those so that they don't, I'm not having much success there, am I? Okay, so those are our two stamp sets. So what I did was I started by using the big scripty stamp, and I've just used the that's the right way up. I used some crumb cake ink on this one, and then I went in with Night of Navy with the leafy stamp, and then the last colour I used is Seaside Spray, and this is kind of the little dotty holy sort of loopy stamp that's in the Artisan Textures stamp set. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to rough up the edges, and I've got my paper snips, and I'm going to open them up, and I'm going to put a piece of kitchen paper towel to protect my fingers, and then I'm just going to use the blade to rough up. And if some of it's a little bit rougher than the other, that's not a bad thing as far as I'm concerned. So I just, and if the paper tears slightly, well, that just adds to the effect as well. Oh, and there I did it. So I'm not going to worry about it, because that's kind of what I was going for. There we go. Now it does make a bit of dust on your desktop, but hey, creativity usually does make a bit of a mess. Let's go back and do that corner. So that's my piece, and you can see all the edges have been all sort of roughened up. And then to emphasize even more, we're going to sponge, and I'm going to be using my crumb cake, and I'm going to sponge the edges, and I'm going to try and take my sponge into my card, and I'm doing that by increasing the angle. If you can just see, I've got a good old angle on there so that it's actually colouring the edges of the card as well. There we go. I'm just going to go all the way around, and where it caught a bit extra, I'm just going to emphasize that even more. Alrighty, so there's my sort of focal piece. Now that is layered onto a piece of Sahara Sand, and I've done exactly the same. I've roughed up all the edges, and then I've sponged, and I'm going to use some liquid adhesive. You can use snail if you wish. I'm just going to layer those pieces together. I think I've cut that a little bit on the big side. One moment, we're just going to trim it back. There we go. I think that should fit now. There you go. So I am going to have to rough this bit up a bit. Like that. And then just go back in with my crumb cake and my sponge. There we go. Lovely. See, nobody's going to be any the wiser. And we're just going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. And my preference is one, oh, she said, taking it away, one on each corner and one in the middle. And I'm just going to take the backing off, dig your nail in. My nails are looking particularly weird at this time. I haven't been able to get to see anybody, my nail technician. Of course, they're all closed because of the situation that we find ourselves in at this time. There, so that's my main part of my card. So now we're going to talk about your decorations. So my inside of my card and my envelope. The inside of my card, I am going to go and use the scripty stamp again. So I'm going to put a little bit in that bottom corner there. And I'm going to put a little in that top corner there, like that. And then on my envelope, I'm going to do the same. So make sure my script is the right way up. I don't think I can read it, what's on it. I don't know what language it's in, but it's clearly there's a right and a wrong way. So that's why I want to make sure I've got a right and a wrong way. Then I'm going to use my Night of Navy, and I'm going to I'm going to pop just some on that corner and that corner, and then my last little bit of decoration is the Seaside Spray with this little stamp with the little holy bits in. I'm just going to stamp it off and just stamp it randomly onto my card. Stamp off and stamp randomly like that. And there's my other decorative pieces, and that's exactly how I stamp the front piece. And so that's going to go inside my card. Now I'm not going to rough the edges of this because it would make it a little bit too bulky, but I am going to sponge there we go. Then just use some liquid adhesive, get that attached inside. So this is the bit that you're going to write on. There we go. And because I want to just also vintage up the edges of my envelope like that. So there we go. So that's quite a nice effect on there. Okay, so now we've got our front pieces. So I'm using the what's it called, braided burlap trim, and I suppose I've got about 3 or 4 inches here, and I'm just going to tease out the threads like this, and it makes it just a little bit shabbier. So that's my shabby bit. I'm going to do it both ends, and I'm just using my take your pick tool and being careful I don't stab myself with it. And I'm not being particularly careful, I'm just pulling it out just to, there we go. I can always do a bit more pulling when I've got it on my card, so I'm not going to use any more time. And then I'm going to take some of the scallop lace trim, and I'm just going to tie a bit around this around the middle of my piece of braid. So this is like the chic bit for the shabby of the twine. There we go. And I'm going to pop this on a piece of Night of Navy, and I've just cut it with a 1.5 inch circle, and I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back like that, and I'm going to position it on my card. Now let me see. I'm going to kind of pop it about here, and then I'm going to use a couple of glue dots to attach the Shabby Chic piece, and I'm going to put one of them behind the lace and one of them behind the braid, just to stop the two of them moving. Just lay them at the very top like that. Then I'm going to use the greeting from this, or one of the greetings from this stamp set, and it says have a beautiful day, and this could work for a birthday, it could work for a wedding. It's a lovely greeting. So this is just a 3/4 of an inch piece of, I've got some overstamp there, let's turn it over. So 3/4 of an inch piece of vanilla cardstock, and I'm just going to use my punch again to do some rounded edges. So there's a little gap in there which I'm just going to position like that, and then I'm going to pop it through in this side and just bring it up so I can hold it, and just make sure it's kind of centered like that. That gives me some nice curved edges. And back in with my sponge. I think this is what makes these Shabby Chic cards so pretty, is when you've got lots of sponging, because I'm going to be sticking it about there. I'm going to put a glue dot on one side, and I'm going to put a dimensional on the other, and then that will be the same level as my circle. I'm just going to bring it down like that. Then I decided that I would use these vellum elements. They're from the poppy elements, and I've used these on several other cards. You can see that they are sort of well used here. And I am going to use one of the large ones, a medium. You can see that they are laser cut, so they come out really quick. And I'm going to use, I'm going to flip them over, and I'm going to use my sponge to just add some colour to the back, because they were looking a bit lost. And again, it adds to the vintageness of my card. So let's see. Where are we? This one's a little bit of a tiny one. It's just giving me a bit of trouble. All right. I'm just trying to get my card so I can see what I did. Now the big one, I am going to attach a small piece of dimensional. I've got a half piece here, and if you look, there's a solid piece in the middle, and so I'm going to pop that on the back behind so it can't be seen if it will stay. There we are. I've got to press it firmly. And I'm going to stick it sort of here, just so it's overlapping my greeting and overlapping that middle piece here. My next one, I'm going to use a glue dot, and again I'm going to put the glue dot on the flower center, and I'm going to overlap and attach it like that. And my last one, again, I'm going to attach the glue dot to the middle. This is a bit smaller, so I'm going to use my tool, and I'm going to bring this one over and just attach it to the corner there. And then just my final flourish are some pearls. So I'm going to pop the pearls in my flower centers. This one has escaped a bit. Let's just go and pop it here like that, and there, we're done. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this card. I had great fun making it, and there'll be more information in the link below my video. It will take you to my blog where you get the dimensions and the supplies, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you, and bye for now.